This is me in a traditional Korean hanbok. Trust me when I say I feel slightly uncomfortable.
Wearing a hanbok by myself. I couldn't feel any better.
I wouldn't usually wear this by myself, but today there's a special occasion for which I will make an exception. The Gay Royal Culture Festival. It's Korea's largest cultural heritage festival, held every spring and fall at the 5 major palaces in Korea. Now, ask yourself, have you ever wandered around the Royal Palace grounds in Seoul and had no clue what the meaning is behind any of the buildings? Well, I did. It leaves nothing but the aesthetics, so let me bring you to 2 of 5 royal palaces and share 8 fun little tidbits that will 100% make you want to visit or revisit the palaces.
감사합니다. 안녕하세요. I want to go to Changgyeonggung before we go into Gyeongbokgung. Why? Because this palace is overlooked by many foreigners and Koreans alike. And it's a pity.
Yes, it's a pity, because this palace has quite a history. King Seongjong built Changgyeonggung Palace on the site of Sungangung Palace, which King Sejong, who invented Hangul, built for his retiring father King Taejong.
Here we are, Changgyeonggung Palace. What most people don't know is that this palace was turned into a botanical garden, a zoo and a museum by the Japanese during the colonial period.
The Japanese changed the name to Changgyeonggung.
So here you can see the old map of Changgyeonggung.
And not until 1983, the name Changgyeonggung Palace was reclaimed, giving it back its original palace status. I can't believe that's only 40 years ago that you could see elephants and other animals here. All I could see now were many middle and high schoolers.
그 게임이에요 지금?
네.
어떤 게임이요?
사진 찍기 게임.
뭐 찾아야 돼요?
저 이거 다 찾아야 돼요. 고양이 찾아야 돼요.
여기
이거 다
봤어요
찾아야
여기
돼요.
뒤에.
뒤에? 감사합니다.
When they changed it back to its palace status, they removed the botanical garden and most of the animals they went to Seoul Grand Park, Seoul Daejeon.
Some traces are left from the Changgyeonggung period, but one in particular grabbed my attention.
The enclosed botanical garden that I'm standing in right now. And if you look at it, some might feel bittersweet, others feel it's pretty. Here we go into the botanical garden.
The greenhouse must be one of the highlights of Changgyeonggung Palace. Built in 1909, making it Korea's first greenhouse designed in Western architectural style. It was built by a French company, Bravo. It goes with the Korean name Daeonshil, the Great Glass House, and a Renaissance-style fountain at the center. I must admit, it's quite a charm.
어때요? 뭐?
멋있어요. 한 장 찍어드릴까요?
아, 역사도 신기한지.
엄청 슬퍼요, 역사가. 많이 파괴됐어요. 많이 파괴됐어요.
Beautiful plants though. If you're into this stuff, it's worth a visit. So here you see the greenhouse that we've been. So this building is now gone. And here you can see an old photo of the zoo, an elephant in a cage, being relocated, maybe to Seoul Daejeon.
Another difference in Changgyeonggung Palace from all other palaces is that the buildings face east instead of south. You would never notice by just walking around.
Here the buildings face east. Now, I believe that's because south of this palace is the Jeongmyo Shrine, the ancestral shrine for the royal families. Hence, the buildings were built towards the east.
The palace garden is beautiful with the upcoming autumn colors. A reminder that the palace served as the quarters for queens and concubines of the king, and, therefore, has a more homely feel to it. But don't let looks deceive your eyes. A rather dark but intriguing dramatic event happened in this palace courtyard. The tragic death of Crown Prince Sado.
And one of the stories that I find very intriguing is about a crown prince called Sado. And he was mentally ill, committed a lot of crimes. I don't want to mention what kind of crimes, but they were terrible. And the king of that time, he wanted to punish him. But to punish a royal person, it's quite difficult because you're not allowed to bruise his body according to Confucian principles. And the king, he was a law-abiding guy. He was a real Confucianist. So he put the crown prince in a rice chest. Can you believe it? A rice chest. In the midst of July, in front of this building, in this courtyard. And there he was for, I believe, 8 days without water, without food. And then logically, he died.
I do recommend you watch the movie The Throne, depicting the life and death of Crown Prince Sado.
이 장경궁보다 다른 궁도 좋아요?
창경궁이 그나마 제일 나은 것 같아요.
훨씬 좋아요?
네, 훨씬 좋아요.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm getting a lot of unnecessary attention with my hanbok.
Now it's time to say bye to my new young fans, some of whom dare to call me monk. I won't forget you. And move on to the second palace, the majestic
Bye-bye.
Gyeongbokgung.
You too, bye bye.
Before you enter the Gyeongbokgung Palace, you must check out the main gate, Gyeongbokgung. If you have ever been here before, you may not recognize it anymore. That's because they recently opened the Wote, a long since vanished terrace used for public rituals and ceremonies in the Joseon period.
The Japanese, they destroyed it in 1923.
To make a place for tram tracks. Can you believe it used to look like this?
And now 100 years later, they restored it. And during the restoration project, they found these old tram tracks that the Japanese wanted to build in 1923. They found them back in the ground.
So Gyeongbokgung may look different now, but this is what it was like in the past.
So here, another thing that they restored is the name of Gyeongbokgung, now written in golden letters on a black background. Also beautiful. Sweating so much you don't want to know, so it's time to return to hanbok, change back to my normal clothes, and film comfortably Gyeongbokgung. Wow, I can finally breathe. Wearing a hanbok is beautiful and all, but you get so much unnecessary attention. And going to the bathroom is a problem. Putting your wallet or my batteries somewhere is a problem. So I feel much lighter now. Gyeongbokgung.
Let me give you a bonus tidbit, and let's call it Tidbit 5.5. I, for one, didn't know they held a gay royal culture festival every spring and fall. I don't know why, but I didn't. During the festival days, you can do loads of activities at either of the 5 royal palaces. I know it can be tedious to read through pages of history, but these activities make it so much easier to learn about these majestic palaces, for both young and old and bold. My personal favorite was a concert at night, because of the magnificent light show. This photo exhibition and the games and the cute hanboks are all part of the festival, so come and check it out in spring and fall.
Alright, now we're inside Gyeongbokgung to continue our streak of funny little tidbits. And I'm on my way to tidbit number 6 already, I believe. And it's gonna be at the Gyeonghéru를, Korea's biggest one-floor pavilion and my favorite spot for photos. Let's check it out. You look great.
Thank you so much.
Where did you get the sword from?
Outside.
Oh, it's a part of the rental.
Yes.
All right. That looks cool. Yeah, I like it.
Bye.
I have my own sword. Have fun.
Thank you.
Changgyeonggung feels a bit more homely. This one is more grande and with all the mountains in the backdrop. It's beautiful. So this building was used for entertainment when foreigners visited the palace. And that's something that not many people know, but I will show you now. Here, check this out. If you look to the pillars of Gyeonghéru를, you can see those white spots. Apparently those are the bullet marks from the Korean War. And I believe this is also the only construction that has survived Japanese colonial period. And also you see these animals here on the bridge, these little stone statues. They are there to ward off evil spirits. You can see the bullet holes over there, there, here on this wall. So it's all renovated now. It's beautiful, eh?
Yeah, very beautiful. I need to stay here.
You can jump over the fence. I won't tell anyone.
when you wake up and you see this view, oh, it's cool.
It's beautiful.
Let me show you something less dark now, a prettier tidbit. When King Sejong's health was frail, he decided to carry out his executive duties in Gangneung-jeon, where his bedchamber is located, instead of Sajongjeon. So many officials came into their private space and the queen didn't really like it. Her privacy was a bit intruded by all the officials, so he decided to build like a separate space for the queen to give her more privacy, and that's behind me. So he had Gyeotdaejeon built in consideration of his wife, sometime in 1440. It's crazy. When you go through the main entrance of Gyeongbokgung, it's so crowded, so many people. If you walk a little bit further, past like the main grand buildings, and there's hardly anyone. But here it comes. At the rear of Gyeotdaejeon Hall lies the Garden of Amisan, with maybe the country's most beautiful ondol ornamented hexagonal chimneys. They were built around 1870. There you have them, and they are gorgeous. Before we go to the final and last tidbit, I will play some royal court games as part of the Gay Culture Festival.
혹시 이거 어떤 한복이에요? 이 모자 너무 재밌어요.
조선 시대 페인터. Yeah.
Painter?
Yeah.
아 그래요?
Hit the 딱지 and flash.
이렇게?
Flap. Yeah.
I've never played Dokji before, the game that became globally famous after Squid Game.
Oh, one more time.
벌써 땀이 나요. 너무 어려워요. 생각보다.
If it weren't for the camera, you would have known how bad I am at this.
Oh.
할 수 있어요?
저도 잘.
At least the people in Hamburg don't play better than me. I feel better now.
But my height offers some advantages, especially in this game, which immediately became a favorite.
Beginner's luck. Oh guys, are you ready for the last tidbit? Number 8. And it's gonna be a dark banger of Gyeongbokgung. I have to go all the way to the northeastern part where there is a palace within a palace. Built by Gojong, the last king of the Joseon dynasty, to live, as a residential space for him and his wife, Myeongjeon, Queen Myeongjeon, and something really cruel, dark has happened over there. Let's check it out. So look at this pavilion. This was only opened recently, but we're going there to that building, which is the palace within the palace. Here we go, into the palace within the palace. Gyeongbokgung. This was the first place where they installed electric light in Korea, and it was 7 years after Thomas Edison had invented the light bulb.
This was also the tragic location where the Imperial Japanese brutally assassinated Queen Myeongjeon and court ladies in 1895. The attack is known as the Ulmi Incident. Husband and King Gojong left the palace and took refuge in the nearby Russian legation.
This is the place where Queen Myeongjeon was assassinated.
Knowing these little tidbits making visiting these two palaces much more fun. Some people may think, should I go to one palace alone? They all look alike. Well, yes in a way, but the stories like this separate them and give each their unique charm. There are, of course, 1,000 more stories, but that's for you to find out. I want to know from you how many of the tidbits you've heard before. Maybe as a Korean, quite a lot, I guess? I don't know. If you know other fun facts about the palaces, please share them below. This was a special palace edition. Next time we're going back into exploring Seoul Dongs. See you then. Howdo!